to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney. And if you're new here, welcome to the Wedding Buzz. So just a little highlight on what this podcast is sometimes we have some awesome guests. Sometimes I do this alone, but we talk all things wedding planning, brides, grooms. I really want my focus to be on like, if you're planning a wedding, what is valuable to you? So I like interviewing DJs and photographers and giving and getting their perspective on the whole wedding industry. And then sometimes I do solo episodes where I pick some hot topics. Today, obviously, if you're watching the video, I am by myself today. But I haven't done a recap on like, hi, welcome to the Wedding Buzz if you're new here in a while. So I wanted to do that little recap. And also, hey, I'm Sydney. I'm the host of the Wedding Buzz. I am a wedding planner. I am the owner and founder of Delightful Planning that is located down here in South Florida, mainly in Palm Beach. But I'm definitely willing to travel. So if you have any planning needs, give me a call. I'm your girl. Even if it's something just like help with your bridal shower, your rehearsal dinner, if you're doing a brunch the next day, you know, I really want you to be able to enjoy the entire planning process and especially enjoy those days. So I am happy to help with not only the wedding day, but we can add on other events as well to make sure things are seamless and enjoyable for you. So anyway, like I said today, obviously, if you're watching the video, I am doing a solo episode. I'm by myself because sometimes I like to I find that I do a lot of awesome episodes where I interview other vendors and talk about their business and talk about their specialty. But sometimes we don't just talk about planning and things that brides go through. So that's what we're going to do today. Today's definitely going to be focused on brides and something that I think is like one of the most important things while planning, which is wedding dress shopping. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I was raised on say yes to the dress. And I was so excited when I went wedding dress shopping. There was a guy that worked there who was like my Randy. He had a very similar personality to Randy. He was just great. One of those like, oh girl, I know what you need. And you know, gets you in the perfect gown. So I hope that you find your Randy while you are wedding dress shopping. But yeah, if you're anything like me, I watched Say Yes to the Dress since I was a little girl. Obviously, I'm obsessed with the whole wedding world. I became a wedding planner. But not all, but most girls dream of their wedding dress and what they're going to wear on this big day. And they also dream about the wedding dress shopping day. Because again, a lot of us were raised on Say Yes to the Dress. It's kind of this like glorified day and event where you go with your family and your friends and you pick out your perfect gown that's going to be worn on the wedding day, and it's your princess moment. So let's talk about it, because the other harsh reality is that sometimes that day of wedding dress shopping has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's perfect and glorious, and I'm so happy if you have that experience. I must say I had a pretty good experience as well. But I've also been there with some friends that, you know, there's some tears, or they love the dress and mom hates the dress, and it can be a little tough. So let's talk about it. Let's dive in. Let's navigate this process, because I want you to enjoy that day and especially feel good and confident in your wedding dress on your actual wedding day. So let's talk about the annoying thing right off the bat, budget. You got to determine a budget before you go shopping, because wedding dresses are expensive. They can be very, very expensive. Even a simple gown that doesn't have a lot of beading, depending on the fabric. Now, I'm not a wedding dress expert. I plan the wedding day. I don't make the wedding gowns, but I have been in many, many shops and around a lot of dresses. Even simple gowns that don't have a lot of beading and lace and all of that can be very expensive depending on the fabric. So you have to set a budget in mind beforehand so that you don't go and try on, you know, a dress that's 5 times over your budget, even 2 times over your budget, fall in love with it, and then not be able to get it. Because I can promise you that if that's the case, you will think about that dress over and over again. And it's just going to put a damper. Even if you find a dress, there are dresses that are beautiful in all budgets. So don't worry about not being able to find a dress in your budget. You definitely can find a dress in your budget. But if you go try on the dresses that are way over your budget, fall in love with them, nothing's going to feel good enough, even if they are good enough. So, of course, one thing, set the budget, figure out who's paying for the dress. Are you paying for it yourself? Are you getting a gift from someone? If your mom, your sister, your aunt, your grandma says, I want to pay for your dress, you unfortunately have to have the conversation prior to getting to the shop. Again, prior to you getting to the shop on what you want this budget to actually be, because you don't want to have that conversation the day of, even if they're like, I don't know, I want you to just fall in love and like, we'll see. Okay, well, get a range, throw a number. Is it 2,000? Is it 3,000? Is it 5,000? What are you talking about here? Because again, I don't want you to fall in love with something that you can't have. And I also don't want that day to be, full of family fights or something. So have the full budget conversation of what you are looking to spend on your wedding dress. When it comes to budget, please don't forget that alterations are very expensive. Wedding dresses often are very long and poofy and have lots and lots of layers, which needs lots and lots of alterations. If you're lucky and you don't have that, congratulations. But to the rest of us who needed a lot of alterations, or if you might need a lot of alterations, plan for that budget. I think me personally, alterations were $700-800. I could be so wrong because no, I'm not so wrong. That was about what it was. So you got to plan for that. Is that part of this wedding dress budget? Or is that going to be separate? Is the person paying for your gown also going to pay for the alterations? Because that's a separate bill. That's down the road. So have these conversations. And then your veil. Veils just look like a little piece of fabric, but let me tell you, those things can be very expensive as well. They're high quality fabric. There's usually beading on the edge. You can get them in an affordable budget and they can be beautiful. But let me tell you, they also can be extremely expensive, probably more than you think. So figure out if your veil is included in the budget. Because if you say, my budget's 3,000 and you go find a dress that is exactly 3,000, that leaves no room for alterations, veil, shoes, accessories. So figure out what your budget is and what you're including in that budget, or if you're going to find money for those extra items elsewhere. So before you go wedding dress shopping, I also think that it is, in your favor to research some styles. Learn the lingo of wedding dresses. See if you think you might like something like an A-line, a ball gown, a mermaid. You're not going to know until you try it on. And I do highly suggest that you be open to trying on different types of dresses because you might be very surprised something that you think you're going to hate on yourself and then you end up loving on yourself. I did that. I didn't end up picking the mermaid dress, but I kind of tried it on just because they were like, just try it. And I actually liked it. I didn't fall in love with it and pick it when I was a bride, but I definitely liked it a whole lot more than I thought I would. So I definitely suggest just try it on. Just try it on. It's your hopefully one chance to go wedding dress shopping and try on all these pretty dresses. Just do it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, oh well, take it off and you're done. So research the styles, kind of familiarize yourself with the lingo, the different types of dresses, because when you walk in, they're going to ask, what do you want? They probably have hundreds of dresses and you can't try on all 100 of them or more. So make sure that you kind of narrow down what you want to try on. I'd say trying on remember they're big dresses. It's not the easiest thing to put on. And sometimes you put it on, look at it, try some others on, and then you say, I want to try that first one back on. That is very, very common and usually how it goes. So remember, they take time. I would say, I should have looked up this statistic before, but I don't know, maybe you could try on about 5-6 dresses in an hour, depending on how big and poofy of dresses you want. Of course, if you're a simple girl and you want just some easy, simple dress, you could probably do a whole lot more than 5 or 6 in an hour. But if you're doing the whole ball gown or A-line, long train, they're not the easiest thing to get on and off. And so you won't have hours upon hours and you just get exhausted and then it's not fun. Of course, you can have multiple appointments. You do not have to pick your dress in the first appointment that you go to. But you don't want to drag it on so long that it's just, a nightmare process and that you're like so over the entire process. So again, familiarize yourself with the different styles. I also suggest maybe if you have your venue picked first, you have a much better picture of what your wedding day is going to be like. So I do suggest picking your venue before you go dress shopping. And then you can kind of tell, are you doing a beach wedding? Are you doing a mountain wedding? Are you doing, does your venue have like boho vibes? Is it desert? Is it a garden party? I don't know. But you can try to kind of match your venue. Again, I'm a big person on it's your day. It's your way. You don't have to match your venue. You don't have to, there are no rules when it comes to wedding day. But I have a couple right now that I met with this week and they're blending 2 different cultures and they're not doing a traditional culture or a traditional ceremony either way. They're doing like a create your own ceremony of the 2. And I think it's awesome. I think it's your day, your way. Do whatever is going to work best for you guys. So anyway, if you do have your venue first, you can match it if it's something that you want to do. Does your venue have princess ball gown vibes? Is your venue, like I said, is it in the desert? Is it in the mountains? A beach wedding? Do you want flowy? You can kind of get a better idea if that's something that you want to do. So the next, big thing is maybe this should have been earlier, but book an appointment. Most wedding dress shops, or salons, they call it, they require appointments. A lot of them, you can't just walk in. It's not like a normal store where you can just like browse their selection and try anything on. You might get lucky. They might not be busy, but they usually have appointments where you have a scheduled attendant for you, which is that person running to the back and grabbing all these dresses and then helping you get inside these dresses. Because again, they're big, they're heavy, they're not the easiest thing to put on. So book an appointment. Because a lot of the popular salons do get very, very busy, especially on weekends. So make an appointment. And you can make an appointment at multiple stores if you want. You can make like a day out of it. But again, try not to do, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't say you're going to go hit 5 stores in one day. You're going to be exhausted and it's not going to be fun. 2 to 3 in a day is plenty. I would even say like two max. Hopefully you'll find it in the first one, but if not, 2 in a day. And if you don't find it, that's okay. You'll just have to do, another day. I also suggest, this wasn't in my notes for this, but I do suggest getting your dress. I'm going to say 8 months prior to the wedding day, at least like if you can do it earlier, do it earlier, but I would say 8 months. And here's why. 1, you have to find the right dress. If you do it in one shot, amazing. You might not do it in one shot. And depending on your work schedule, you might not be able to go shopping, the very next day. It might be, okay, next week we'll go shopping again. So you want to give yourself some time to actually find the dress. And it's a huge decision. So you don't want to rush that decision. So I would say, make sure that you're starting to shop. If you can do it a year in advance, fantastic. But definitely start making your bridal appointments, start thinking about all this 9-10 months before the wedding, and try to pick your dress about 8 months before the wedding, depending on the dress that you're getting. Now, if you're going into a traditional like bridal salon, doing the whole like say yes to the dress experience in a typical store. If you're doing these days, there's a lot of like online websites where you can just buy a wedding dress. They're like $300, $400. You can try it on at home. You can return it. If you're doing that, it doesn't matter as much. Those are usually maybe like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, I'd say. I wouldn't necessarily want to wait till the last couple months before your wedding to start looking for a dress. But that is a great option if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you don't want to go try it on and do the whole thing. If that sounds awful for you, these online stores are a great option. Or if you're doing a short engagement, if you're planning a wedding in only a couple months, that's a fantastic option. If you're doing the traditional bigger name designer gowns where you're going to the salon to try it on, I would say try to, start thinking about this 9-10 months before the wedding, and then order your dress if you can around 8 months prior to the wedding. This is just to be safe. There are some situations where you can order a designer gown and get it back in just like 2 months and you'll be good to go. Every salon is going to be different, or every bridal store is going to be different. Every designer is going to be different. Some have a very quick turnaround and some have a long turnaround. And then it just also depends on sounds funny, but what's going on in the world. During the pandemic, when there were supply chain issues and shipping issues, a lot of these dresses come from overseas. Things were being delayed outside of the designer's hands. They couldn't get the right fabric, or once they did have the dress, they couldn't ship it over. So hopefully right now, I'm going to knock on some wood, I think the supply chain issues and all that have gotten a whole lot better, but things in life happen. So I just would say, get it out of the way as early as you can. I would say an average time for the designers to get the dress back to the store. So if you don't know, the store will have sample sizes. So they will have 1, maybe 2 of each dress in the store for you to try on. If it's too small, they have these these clips. If the zipper won't go up, they'll clip each side and it has a bungee in between. So it kind of keeps the dress on you. Even if it won't zip up and it's too small, so you can get an idea of what the dress will look like. And then they'll measure you and they'll order it in your size. Same thing, but opposite. If the dress is too big on you, they just clip it. They scrunch up in the back and they clip the dress so you can get a really good idea of what that dress will look like on you, even if it's not the right size. Everybody is a different size. So there's no way that these bridal salons can carry every dress in every size possible. So once you find the dress that you like and they take your measurements and you order the dress, it will take maybe 3 to 6 months on average for that designer to send your dress back to the salon. At that point, you typically will go in, try on the dress, and then start the alteration process. So I'm going to talk about alterations in a little bit because I want to go back to prepping for your actual wedding dress shopping day. I just want you to understand this entire process here. So going back to the wedding day, book an appointment around 8 months in advance. And then the other thing that I would say is bring supportive companions. You might have a mom, a sister, an aunt. Maybe your dad wants to go. Maybe your brother wants to go. I don't know. But I've seen firsthand, thankfully this was not my experience, but I've seen firsthand. I've gone with, some friends have invited me wedding dress shopping with them, and their whole family shows up. And there are people who clearly don't want to be there, who are just being annoying. If you don't want to be there, don't go. They want to rush the process. And there's also been some negative company. People, I've seen firsthand people saying some not nice things to the bride, and it's awkward and it's sad because this is her moment to feel like a princess, and nobody should be putting you down. But unfortunately, we can't always pick our family. And some people don't know the right thing to say. So I want you to stop and think about your family and your friends and who is truly going to be supportive and happy for you that day. I'm not saying they have to tell you every dress looks great on you, but there's a way to say it. And I want you to not bring people who put you down. Don't bring people who make you feel bad. Don't feel obligated to bring people with you. I hate to say it, but honestly, if you're worried about people's opinions and there's someone who wants to be there, but you don't feel comfortable trying things on in front of them, go dress shopping without them. Go try on without them. Go get a sense of if you like the A-line or the ball gown or the mermaid without them. So then when you do go dress shopping, maybe with them, if you kind of have to go with them or you have to get their opinion before you buy the dress, you've already figured out, I hate ball gown and I hate mermaid. Like I need an A-line. This is what I want. Then you only try those on that day. And that's all that they'll see on you. It still doesn't mean that everything is going to go perfect, but I definitely recommend, doing that. It is your day, your way. You need to feel beautiful. You need to enjoy this process. So I don't think there's anything wrong going dress shopping on your own or with your best friend if that's what's going to make you feel the most confident, the most happy, and allow you to have the best day. So be very picky when you're bringing people wedding dress shopping. The other thing I'll say is not everybody has to be there. You do not have to bring all your bridesmaids. You do not have to bring all your siblings. You do not have to bring aunts and grandmas and everybody. If you're close to them and it's meaningful for you to have them there, fantastic. Do it. If you feel obligated and in your heart you don't want people there, you don't have to have a whole entourage. Sometimes the best day, I went wedding dress shopping, just me and my best friend for her. We went just the two of us, and she didn't buy the dress that day. She later went with her mom and sister, and they were there for the final, say yes to the dress moment. But her and I had a blast. Like we had some champagne. We went to a couple different shops, and it was just so much fun. The two of us having a girl day, going to these beautiful salons and trying on dresses. So just think about who you want and what the process is going to be like, because it's a big moment and you want to feel good. And then the last thing I'll say about the actual appointment is undergarments and shoes. So like I was saying, wedding dresses aren't the easiest to put on and off. So a lot of the time the attendant is in the fitting room with you, helping you get these dresses on. And, at first it's like you're a little shy and you're like, I'll try to get it on as best I can. And kind of by the end, you're just, doesn't even matter anymore. Help me get these dresses on and off. But I will just, a reminder is that someone that you probably don't know, a stranger, is probably going to be in the fitting room with you, which is weird for anybody. So if it makes you feel more comfortable, wear some sort of undergarment. If you have shapewear or even just like a bra is kind of hard because a lot of dresses you can't keep your bra on. But I would say try to have some sort of like shapewear or coverage, whatever's going to make you feel more comfortable, because like I said, there's probably going to be a stranger in the room with you, but you're going to get to know the stranger real quick. And remember, they do this all day, every day. It's like a doctor. They see people all day, every day. They're not fazed by it. These people, they're not fazed by it. That's their job. They help people get in and out of the wedding dresses all day, every day. Believe me, they've seen it all. They're not fazed by seeing you. But I do want you to feel as comfortable as you can. So if you want to bring some shapewear or some sort of coverage to make yourself feel good, do that. The other thing I'd say is bring shoes similar to the heel height that you want. Chances are you don't have your exact wedding day shoes at this point, but you might have an idea of if you want to wear high heels or a block heel or sandals. This is also your opportunity. You can bring multiple shoes and you can bring the stilettos and whatnot and try it all on in wedding dresses and see, how are you going to feel? How does it feel walking in a dress? When you're at the end at your alterations, you're going to be walking in your dress again. But bring shoes this day and see what's going to look and feel best. If you have some jewelry or something that you're contemplating, you can bring it this day as well to get yourself the whole picture of what it's going to look and feel like on wedding day. So let's talk alterations again for a second. Like I said, most people do need alterations. They're not the most fun process. You kind of just got to stand there and let them poke and prod and pull and whatever on the dress and get it to fit you as best as possible. But let me tell you, it does make a world of difference, and you will appreciate having the dress kind of be custom fit to your body on wedding day. I mentioned before, alterations can be very expensive. They can take a long time. I would give yourself at least 8 weeks. I would give yourself at least 8 weeks. Sometimes I say like a month. Sometimes I say 6 weeks. I say 8, 10, 12 weeks. It doesn't have to be finalized, like your final alteration appointment, until the last like 2 weeks before the wedding. But sometimes, in my own experience, again, I'm not a professional dress designer or anything, but I've, been through it myself, and I've talked to lots of brides during their process in all of this. And sometimes, like even myself, they went to fix one thing and they like tightened around my waist. And when they did that, it fit better around my waist, but then it was pulling some fabric in a different spot around my hips. And so it was kind of like fix this problem, cause another problem. And now hopefully that doesn't happen to you. And I don't know if that was just like kind of the name of the game, or if like the person I had messed it up. But it definitely was like a process. And the other thing is like, I wanted straps added to my dress. Well, they had to figure out the other things before they could do the strap, but then they had to do the strap and get the lift before they could finalize the hem. And so there's just a lot that happens. And I just highly suggest that you start early. Towards the end of your alterations, when they are doing the final hem, you have to have the shoes you're going to wear on the wedding day. It makes a huge difference, and you don't want to be tripping over your dress. I didn't wear high heels on my wedding day. I just wore, lower ones, but even for the reception, I switched over to sneakers, which I 10 out of 10 recommend. 10 out of 10, dance the night away. You don't need to be in uncomfortable shoes at your reception, or at all, but especially the reception. But the sneakers were not as tall as the heels. And so it was a little hard at the reception to walk around in the dress because it was too long. And I ended up kind of trying to hold it the whole time. Anyway, it was not a big deal at all, but just something to keep in mind. You can't go from like high heels at the ceremony to flats at the reception, because your dress is going to be drastically different, unless you can talk to them about doing some sort of bustle that will like counteract the situation. The bustle is another big thing. So what the bustle is if the dress has a train, which is when like a lot of the fabric kind of trails behind you on the ground. It's beautiful for the ceremony, but it's impossible to dance at your reception with that long train. Every time you turn, it gets wrapped around. It's really not efficient. So they do a bustle, which is where they pin it up. And so that train is not so long, and you can walk and move and dance and not be so worried about having this long gown on. The thing with the bustle is, if you have a really long poofy train, if you have if you don't have that long of a train, or it's a very thin, simple fabric, then it's probably no big deal. If you have a lot of layers, a ball gown, even A-line, a long train, poofy dress, it's not as easy to do the bustle. They do this all the time. You don't have to worry, but it's not as easy for them to do the bustle and get it to lay flat. So I would definitely tell them in your alterations, specify that you want it to lay flat. You don't want it to be pinned up and just poof out and look really bad. The other thing is that bring your sister, bridesmaids, someone to the alteration appointment, and have the alteration specialist show them how to do the bustle and take a video of it so that they can remember on the wedding day. If you have a wedding planner, send this video to your wedding planner. My bustle had 27 buttons. A wedding that we did 2 weeks ago had at least 22. There were multiple layers. So like the bottom layer had a bustle, and then the next layer had a bustle. I think there was like 11 hooks. They're very, very tiny, either buttons or little hooks. They're obviously white, so they blend in with the dress, which is great because you don't want to see them prior to doing this bustle. But when you're actually trying to do the bustle, it can be a whole thing. It can easily take 10 to 15 minutes to try to bustle up a wedding gown. And you also have to put this in your timeline. Put 10 to 15 minutes to bustle your wedding gown if you have a complicated bustle. So anyway, when you're going to your alterations, make sure you talk to them about the bustle. Make sure that you say you want the bustle to lay flat. Again, I'm not an expert on wedding dresses. I think it's called like a French bustle is done. It's a little bit different, but it helps it lay more flat. Ask the experts about it. Don't ask me, but I just want you to be aware of the bustle, aware of how you want it to lay flat. Google it. Literally Google wedding dress bustles and Google bad bustle and Google good bustle, and you'll see photos and you'll understand. And just make sure that you talk to them about it and make sure that you have someone else that knows how to do your bustle and practice it. Honestly, whoever is supposed to do your bustle on the wedding day, have them practice do it. If it's your sister, a friend, bring them to the appointment and have them practice. And then again, take a video of how it's done, and send it to your wedding planner, and make sure you have that video on your wedding day so that they can do it, and get it done easy. I don't mean to scare you. It's not the end of the world. Not at all. Every wedding dress pretty much has a bustle. But if you don't know that it's something to plan for, it can end up being, like a hindrance on the wedding day. So anyway, that's kind of the whole gist about wedding dress shopping. I hope that you guys have a blast. Take the pressure off yourself a little bit. I know that you want it to be this perfect moment and you want to find this perfect dress. If you don't find it right away, that's okay. That's so normal. Everybody posts the picture of I said yes to the dress. Nobody posts the pictures of I went to 3 places and I was crying and there was a whole mess. And so not that I want you to be crying and have a mess, not at all. I want you to have the best time. But like, if it's not 100% smooth sailing, you're not alone. Most people don't, pick the first dress they try on. I actually did. I literally picked the first dress I tried on. But most people don't do that. And yeah, like just take a breath, just start early enough that you can enjoy this process and that you're not rushed and stressed. Talk about the budget, think it through, go have a good time, pop some champagne, and make sure that you just look and feel, not that you look your best, but like that you feel your best. That's just so important, is that, when you look good, you feel good. And so on the wedding day, it's the same thing, but amplified. You want to feel good. And so find the dress that you feel amazing and confident in. But also remember, alterations are magical. Alterations can do a lot. One more thing that I want to touch on is wedding dress sizing. It is different than normal sizing. So don't even worry about the size. You can, if that's something that you struggle with, just tell them, I don't want to know the size. Don't tell me, just measure and order the dress that I need, because the sizing, often you need sometimes 2 sizes bigger, sometimes 3 sizes bigger. Every designer is going to be very, very different. But please, if you need a bigger size, I don't know why they do this, to brides, but it's because I think there's like European sizing and American sizing, and it's just different. If you need a different size than what you're used to, you're not having a crisis. Nothing changed overnight. It's just the way their sizing is. For some reason, it runs different than what you would find in a normal store. And so just be aware of it before you go in. And honestly, I'd say, don't worry about the size. That's their job. They're going to measure you and order the size that they need to order. And I just suggest to listen to whatever they're suggesting. They have the measurement book, and that's how it goes. Sometimes your top will measure one size and your bottom will measure a different size. And so if your bottom is bigger than your top, you're going to have to order that bigger size. And then they'll take the top in. It's really hard to expand a dress. It's a lot easier to take it in. Now, if you order a size 5 times too big, yeah, of course that's difficult to take in. They got to remove half the dress without ruining the design. So again, I would just suggest listening to kind of what they suggest, and not worrying about it too much. Just make sure that it's definitely, based off of the measurements, not the number on the size chart. So with that said, I hope you guys have an amazing time wedding dress shopping. You are going to look stunning. I hope you guys enjoy the day. Do your homework before you go. Don't freak out too much. Yes, it is important, but nobody cares as much as you do. So, and your fiance is going to think you look beautiful no matter what. And truly, your opinion and their opinion is the only thing that matters. So, with that said, I hope you guys have a great time wedding dress shopping. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedding Buzz. Again, subscribe, listen in if you guys are planning a wedding. I have some fun guests coming up. And if you need help planning a wedding, call me. You can, like I said, my company is Delightful Planning. My website is just delightfulplanning.com. You can find me Instagram and TikTok. Instagram's delightful_planning, and then TikTok's just delightful planning. I'm kind of everywhere. So if you need help planning, reach out. Even if you just have some questions, I'd be happy to, I could do some virtual planning. We can meet online and talk about your day. So with that said, hope you guys have a great time wedding dress shopping, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.